So welcome back. So now I'm going to show you how to complete the assembly. That includes belts, the rookery, the bed, and most of the wiring. I will not do any clipper installation, flashing, or any of that stuff, just because there's so many videos about that topic that you don't need another one. I will, however, link all of my config for this specific printer in the description, so you can just copy that and it should give you a nice base to work out of. Okay, so let's start with the belts. So for the belts, you need two belts that are a minimum of 95 centimeters or 950 millimeters. You are probably going to cut off a little piece of it just to make it neat. But that's a minimum for assembling it. You need a little bit more. And then one piece that's a minimum of 55 centimeters or 550 millimeters for the z-axis. And again, we're probably going to cut off a little piece of that, but to make it easy to assemble, that's the length that you need. So I'm going to start with the z-belt, just because it's there's nothing in the way right now, so it's easy to start there. So for the belts, we use these clips. You can use zip ties if you want to, but I prefer these. They're reusable and super easy to put on. They have a two-sided design, so the one side is smaller than the big side. For the z-axis, you just need one. These come in a pre-made setup for the top belts. So what I do, I print more of these that I need, and then I'll cut it off and just use half of it. Works perfectly. So to start with your belts, you want to make a loop like this, and to stop the belt from sliding, you actually squish it together so that the teeth of the belt interlock with each other, and that's how you get the locking force. So we'll start by adding one of these clips with the big side or the open side out, away from the belts. That way when we go back, the open side makes it easier to slide it in and make a nice and secure connection. So I'll put that on there, and I like to get it all the way through from this on this small hole, and then go back up so that you're only connected to this little post right here. And then try to give yourself probably 2 centimeters, 20 millimeters of extra belt just in case. And then we can slide this little clip down, and it's connected. So now we route our belts over the idler, down through the bed, and then around the motor and back up again. So I like to put the printer on its side, it just makes it easier to access. And then we do the same as we just did on the top of the bed. We go in, and then we turn it around. I like to use some tweezers for this. So I'll turn it around, stuff it back in, and push it back down. And we put the clip on. And there we have it, the Z-belt is on. It's super simple to get on. Nothing really magical about this. So as you can see, the belt starts here, loops around this first post, up onto the Z-idler at the top, back down through the bed, down to the Z-motor, around that, and back in another loop. And these clips just makes it so easy to take it on and off. So now you want to make sure that you don't have any belts hitting the motor or the Z idler. And your bed is probably never going to go all the way to the top. So having it stick out to 10 millimeters, that's fine. So now the top belts. I like to do them both at the same time, but I'll do it one at a time to make it easier to follow. So the basic pattern for the belts are that they both start and stop right here on the middle of the Y gantry. And then they loop to the idler, motor, idler, 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 and back. And then the same for the other side. So what I do is I give myself a little bit of extra room on the middle, and then I put it through this first idler on the Y gantry, around the motor, past the Y gantry, and remember we're on the bottom first idler, so we want to stay on the bottom. Around both the front idlers. If you have the normal Mark 1 kit, this is a little bit more finicky because you have to go through them. And then through this single idler on the right side and back. And that's your belt path. So to attach this, we're going to use the same clips. I'm going to use these clips again. So I want to put the clip on the belt with the open face of the clip towards my attachment point, which is the rookery belt base. And again, I want to make sure that I leave myself as much room on the other side as possible, because this one is the simple side. So I want to clip it on like that, and that's enough for now. Now I'll grab my other end and do the same. So I'll grab my clip, put it on with the open face towards my attachment point, pull it through, and then I like to just hold it onto the carriage and tighten all my belts. You don't need to over tighten this, but you want to get it snug. And then slide that clip on. And there we have it. That's the first belt on. So the second one is identical to this one. Oops. Make sure that is oriented the same. The second one is identical. So I'll go the other way this time. It's easier to do this the other way now. So what I'll do is I'll go through the belt clip, around inside the belt cradle, and note that I'm staggering this connection right here so that now I can continue sliding the belt clip. I don't have to take it back off the first one, so I can keep sliding it. So that is my first connection done. So I'll get it just like I did on the other side, but mirrored. So I'll go through this first idler back to the motor, around the motor, through both of the idlers, the front idlers, through this Y gantry idler, and then through the belt clip, through the belt cradle, and now I can get it nice and tight. So what I do is I'll hold my thumb down to keep both of these pinched, slide the belt clip back, and then start easing into it, making sure that I have a nice and you don't need to over tighten this because we can adjust the tightness for the tensioning. So this is about right where I like it right now, because I can adjust more on that later. So that's my belt path done, and then I can secure the belts completely by attaching this screw on the belt on the X carriage. And I'll put in the other screws and we'll move on. So next we're going to move on to the rookery. For the rookery, we're going to need the rookery itself, our fans, the key, and of course the hot end. So get your heat sets in. So there's 2 here, 1 here, and 2 at the top. If you have the zombie mod, it has 1 extra for some extra rigidity. So first thing we're going to do is attach our hot end. Like so. And notice that I'm putting it on backwards. I'm actually putting it on with the cable sticking out the front to make cable routing easier later on. So let's put that aside and we'll move on to the rookery itself. So I have 2 screws in the front here for the 30mm fan. So I'll get this fan onto those screws and try to keep this wire at the top and with the sticker side backwards so that you won't see the sticker when you put it on. And then we'll get that on. I thought I was smart and pre-installed the screws. Turns out I'm not, but that's okay. We're not perfect. So I'll get the screws all the way through. And then I'll put some M3 nuts on the back of the fan. And you don't have to over tighten these. I just finger tighten them and they're completely fine. Because remember, we're holding plastic, so if you over tighten stuff, something's going to break. So first fan is installed. Make sure that it clears everything and you don't have to clean up more. Next is the part cooling fans. And keep in mind that because of the design of the 4010 fans, you want this opening to be super clean, and you might have to go through and open it up a little bit. I use a chamfering tool for this. Works great. So for the fans, I generally just push the cable in through, there's an internal hole, and down. For this one, it's easier. Sorry, wrong hole. So I'll put it through this hole. I'll get my trusty tweezers again, just to make it easier. And then just make sure that the opening of the fan is facing down, and push it down while gently pulling on the cable. And that's it. That's your fan installed. Make sure that it can move, doesn't hit anything. So then it's the same for the other one. Get the cable through. Make sure the opening is down. And press it in. And there you have it. That's the rookery complete, ready to assemble onto the printer. So next up is the bed. And you'll notice that I've extended these wires because the bed only comes with really short wires. So I extend these. You can do that with Wago clips or other stuff like that. I prefer soldering, so that's what I've done. So you're gonna need some pretty long screws. These are M3 by 30, and note that I'm using a modded bed that needs shorter screws, so you might need even longer screws for yours. The Fabreeko-kit comes with screws for this. Then you want your bed springs. So what I like to do is I turn it on its side. It's easier to make sure that everything lines up and you don't keep losing screws or everything. So put your wires through the back. Put your springs onto your screws. Like so. Line it up with the holes. And then press it down while you're screwing in your nuts. So I have some printed wheels with threaded inserts. You can use anything you want, basically. So I'll get that one in. And you don't actually need to hold the head of the screw with a screwdriver or anything, because the tension of the spring does all the work for you. So just press in the screw with your thumb, and then put the wheel on, thread it on, as far as you can press it. We're going to level this later, so you just want to get it on there. And that's your bed. So now we're going to move on to the board. So what you need to make sure is that you have these two connectors plugged in. They are for the sensorless homing. So you want to put in the X and the Y. If you're choosing to use sensorless homing on Z, you can put that in as well, but the Fabreeko-kit comes with an end stop, so I'm going to use that. And then we want to keep in mind that the connector on the side, on the short side, that's for power in, and then you have your hot end and your bed out. So it's called the VBB and the VBB for the beds and the hot end. So let's put this in on the bottom. We can turn this around. And I'll get my screwdriver. And these are just to hold it in. It doesn't need to be super secure, so I'll just put in 3 screws. And this is also the time that if you want to use the Fabreeko-kit and you have a Pi Zero or a Banana Pi Zero, you can put that in as well next to it. I don't have mine in yet, so I'm still using a laptop for Clipper, but there is room for Pi 0 in this base design from Fabreeko. Then you want to connect your power cable, and I'm not using the power supply that comes with the Fabreeko-kits. I'm using an external power supply, so I remade this into an XT60 connector, so I can plug these into my board, and then we'll move on to the print head and get all of those wires routed into this place in the bottom. So now we're going to do the hot end. So we'll get our hot end and put it onto the mount, and we'll put in the single screw in the back, and that's everything that holds it on. So there we go, nice and secure. Let's remember to put in our PTFE tube. So I get that in, then put that clip on, get it nice and all the way through into that. There we go. Then we'll take our rookery, get all the wires out the top, and clip it on. And our print head is put together. Let's secure it with 2 screws in the back here. And just as a note, if you want to do input shaper with an 80XL accelerometer, you need to put in 2 heat inserts in the back to make that work. But there we go. Rookery is installed. So that's most of the mechanical components put together. So we're going to move on to wiring, and I've tried to make this as simple as possible, but you are going to need to make some extensions because this is all you have for your fans. Your hot end comes with extension wires, so we're going to use those. I've made a wiring harness for my fans that combines the 2 part cooling fans. You can see that I've marked them with yellow. So it combines those into a single one because we don't need more wires than we have to, right? So what I've done is I've created a 3 cable system instead of using 4. So it combines all the grounds. So you have the part cooling fan and the hot end fan, but then at the other end you have 3 connectors. You have all your grounds combined into one single cable, and then your part cooling fans for the yellow, and my hot end fan for the red. And as you can see, I've staggered these just to make it better looking, so when we wrap these cables later, we don't have like a bunch of connectors in one spot. So I tried to miss everything. I almost succeeded. So let's just start at one end. Let's start at the top and work our way down to the board. So I'll connect all of my part cooling fans, like so. Then I'll connect my hot end fan. And then I'll connect my heater cables. That's the black one that comes in the Fabreeko-kit. Then the white for the thermistor. These are nice and easy to plug in and use. And on my motor, I have a mount for all the cables. So I'll get them roughly in length. See, I need to tighten that one a little bit. Get them about there. And then I'm going to use an elastic just to keep it on here for now. And I'm going to come back and wrap all the cables later to make it look pretty. Like that. So now I'm just working my way down. So my motor wire is for my extruder is next. And I'll just keep joining cables because they're all going to the same spot anyways. And then I have my thermistor for my bed. That has its own cable extension. So let's keep going at the top and put the extruder on. This is a Mini Sherpa. That comes, all the parts for the Mini Sherpa comes in the Fabreeko-kits. The normal Rook is mostly designed for a BMG. They're simple to use. So I'll put my Sherpa in at the top. And when you're printing the parts for the Sherpa, make sure that you're getting the Sherpa with the fitting on the top so you can use it for Bowden, because the normal Sherpa only works direct drive. So there is a user mod on the Sherpa GitHub that lets you use a fitting at the top here. So let's put that in. Get it all the way nice and secure. And then use that clip to secure it. So that's most of the mechanical components put together. So we're going to move on to wiring. And I've tried to make this as simple as possible, but you are going to need to make some extensions because this is all you have for your fans. Your hot end comes with extension wires, so we're going to use those. I've made a wiring harness for my fans that combines the two part cooling fans. You can see that I've marked them with yellow. So it combines those into a single one because we don't need more wires than we have to, right? So what I've done is I've created a 3-cable system instead of using 4. So it combines all the grounds. So you have the part cooling fan and the hot end fan. But then at the other end, you have 3 connectors. You have all your grounds combined into one single cable, and then your part cooling fans for the yellow, and my hot end fan for the red. And as you can see, I've staggered these just to make it better looking. So when we wrap these cables later, we don't have like a bunch of connectors in one spot. So I tried to miss everything. I almost succeeded. So let's just start at one end. Let's start at the top and work our way down to the board. So I'll connect all of my part cooling fans. Like so. Then I'll connect my hot end fan. And then I'll connect my heater cables. That's the black one that comes in the Fabreeko-kit. Then the white for the thermistor. These are nice and easy to plug in and use. And on my motor, I have a mount for all the cables. So I'll get them roughly in length. See, I need to tighten that one a little bit. Get them around about there. And then I'm going to use an elastic just to keep it on here for now. And I'm going to come back and wrap all the cables later to make it look pretty, like that. So now I'm just working my way down. So my motor wire is for my extruder is next. And I'll just keep joining cables because they're all going to the same spot anyways. And then I have my thermistor for my bed. That has its own cable extension. So I have my thermistor extender for my bed. And I'll keep packaging everything together. Leave a little bit of slack because the bed moves. And finally, we're going to install the end stop. So you have a couple of options when it comes to an end stop. You can do sensorless if you want to. Fabreeko-kit comes with a small little end stop and a printed piece that you can either put on the bed or on the base. I like it on the base. It just cleans up the wiring. You don't have to extend the wires for it. So we're gonna put the end stop in at the back. Just uses two M2 screws, if I'm not mistaken. To be honest, you could probably just glue this to your frame. It'll do just fine. There we go. So that's everything except our motors, and I have those ready to go. So we need 3 motor wires for the NEMA 17s. So I have a left and a right. So I'll put my left on the right because this is the left motor. I'll put it right on the left. I know it's confusing, but it'll make sense. And again, I'm going to make sure that this looks nice, and I'm going to wrap everything later. And then I will get it into this hole and connect everything into the base. So I have all my wires connected, and I'm just going to go through what each of them are. So I'll start on the top left. That's your heater thermistor from your hot end. The second one is your bed thermistor from your bed. Then you have your end stop for your Z. Then you have your hot end fan, and then your part cooling fan. Next, we have the hot end heater itself, and then the bed heater, your input, and then you have all the motors at the bottom here. So on the top right, bottom right here, you have your A motor. On your bottom, on this one is your B motor, your Z motor, and then your extruder all the way at the end here. So that should be all the wiring. So let me, also if you're using a part cooling fan inside of here, you can put it in this spot next to your hot end fan. So let me clean all this up and we'll get it printing again. And there we have it, a completed build. I use this spiraling stuff to wrap up my cables. It's nice and simple. Probably not the best looking, but considering that I keep redoing stuff, it's great. So I want to clean up all of these cables, get them all nice and secure into the base. And that's it, ready for clipper installing and all the tuning. I won't be doing that in this video. I might do one if people want me to do a video. I'll do a tuning specifically for the Rook video at some point. So let me know if you want to see me do that, and I'll see you on the Discord.